I'm pretty sure all of us have had an experience with a bandwagon fan.
Let's go! Let's go!
There are few more reviled figures in sports than that of the bandwagon fan. So today, let's take a look at 10 ways you can spot an NFL bandwagon fan. First up, and perhaps the most obvious entry on this list, has to be if you're at an NFL game. In this instance, probably a Dallas Cowboys game. Okay, so let's set the scene. There you are, posted up attentively, eyes glued to the action, beer or soda or snack or whatever in your hand, and someone happens to catch your eye. It is a red-faced, loudmouth fan who can't seem to recognize that there are any other people around him and that maybe he should rein in his behavior. You look around and the entire section looks pissed off about it. It is unfathomable that this fan in question is behaving this way. He turns toward you to shout something obnoxious, and then you see it. On top of his dome is a navy blue ball cap with a crisp Yankees logo printed in the middle of it. And it suddenly all becomes clear. He is an entitled bandwagon fan. He can't even be bothered to purchase any of the gear to truly support his new quote-unquote favorite team because who knows how long he'll actually be on board for. This person probably grew up in the 90s when the Yankees and Cowboys were both at the peaks of their popularity and power, and they just latched on to that. Or if it's a younger fan, they're probably a Patriots/Yankees fan. Either way, don't try to debate sports with this fan, it's just a fool's errand. No matter what, it'll somehow come back to 27 rings, even if you're at an NFL game discussing the action taking place in front of you. This guy is also likely to fall into one of two other behaviors that, when you see them, you will immediately know that it's a bandwagon fan that you're dealing with. And these behaviors really are two sides of the same coin. The fan that either arrives at the game late or ends up leaving the game early. Now, at face value, these may seem similar, and granted, they really are, but there are two distinct actions to look out for when you are trying to tell if someone is a bandwagoner. The bandwagon fan that shows up late usually is a corporate hustle grifter type. Yeah, you know the guy. He posts those motivational quotes to LinkedIn, followed by a series of unironic non-sequitur hashtags. Well, he usually shows up halfway through the first quarter wearing a sports coat, pretending like it isn't Sunday and he just came from work. If the home team is winning, he'll make up some quip about how he can't believe our team is actually winning for once. And if they're down, it's, oh, of course they're down. And if no one has scored, they'll say something along the lines of, wow, what a boring game so far. I think you get the idea. Now, the bandwagoner who leaves early, on the other hand, is usually one of those fans that either got the tickets through work or wanted to show off to a date or something like that. And they usually decide to cut out before the final whistle blows. Sometimes it's just to beat the traffic, other times it's because he has to go to work the next day. Spoiler alert, we all have to go to work on Monday morning, but leave it to a bandwagon fan to act like they're the first person to ever have a 9 to 5. It isn't just normal people that can fall into this trap though. We've seen some pretty painful examples of bandwagon celebs who don't even have a 9 to 5 to blame. And when a celebrity gets spotted doing this, it comes back to bite them in spades. Like take Mark Wahlberg. When he left the 28-3 Super Bowl early and retroactively blamed it on the kids because people were trolling him for missing such an epic comeback. I mean, people torched him. Next up, we have the guy who, to his credit, does show up on time and probably sticks around for the entire contest. But don't be fooled into thinking that he is a diehard who is just bleeding your team's favorite colors. Because after a short conversation with him, you realize that he quite literally only knows the quarterback on the team. I am talking a QB or bust. He doesn't know the lead back, the number one wideout, literally anyone but the man under center. And that becomes painfully obvious quicker than you're ready for. Now, this isn't the most hateable kind of bandwagon fan, but he's a bandwagoner nonetheless. And he shall be officially categorized as such because especially today, in the age of information and the internet and fantasy football to boot, there is simply no excuse not to know at least a couple of other players on the team besides the QB. me. Now, perhaps even worse is the fan that is dressed up in your team's gear that you strike up a conversation with. And hey, you go back and forth for 5 to 10 minutes, thinking that you're having a nice chat with another diehard, only to find out that while they know a lot about the team as it's currently constructed, they don't know a lick about them going back a couple of years. And that's because, unfortunately, the fan that you're chatting up, as it turns out, is not a fan of the team at all. Instead, he is just a fanatic for a star player that recently joined your favorite team. And in the blink of an eye, they've now decided that they can hop on board and root for your team and don your team's laundry, all because they followed a star player to the organization. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to root for a good team with good players, no duh. But by attaching yourself to a player and following them around the league, let's be honest, you're taking the easy way out as a fan. Like seriously, think about it. What if you were a diehard Broncos fan who has been going to the games for decades and watches religiously every weekend, waiting for the glory days to return, daydreaming about John Elway? Would you have welcomed a random Peyton Manning fan into the afterparty to celebrate those hard-earned victories? Would you let them claim that Super Bowl as a fan? If you ask me, it's tough to have any Johnny-come-latelys in the mix, even if they have the excuse of a favorite player joining the squad as a reason for hopping on board. Not too dissimilarly, you can also spot a bandwagon fan based on the laundry that they've elected to wear to the game. Say, for example, you are at a Carolina Panthers game and you see someone wearing a Cam Newton jersey. Smart money says that they are a bandwagon fan that's currently in limbo, waiting for the right opportunity and destination to jump ship to. Same thing if you see someone at an Eagles game wearing a Carson Wentz jersey. I mean, come on, no true Birds fan in their right mind would be caught dead wearing one of those at a game. The only attire option that is perhaps more indicative of a casual fan is if they're wearing something that was clearly purchased at the team store that same day. Like the generic team merch, or even worse, the giveaway t-shirt. What someone is wearing to a game will tell you a lot about how seriously they take their fandom. Alright, next up, we have the fan who claims to have 2 favorite teams. Now this one, I do have a bit of mixed feelings on. I feel like we all have that other team that we grew some attachment to during childhood because maybe we used them in Madden franchise mode to capitalize on their snazzy unis, or they were just our regular choice when we were playing against our friends or something like that. But there's a big difference between that lingering appreciation for another team and trying to claim true fandom for 2 organizations. There is an old saying in football, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1. And guess what? That applies to being a fan as well. Stick to your roots and support your team. Smile and clap along when the other team does well, but don't start blasting content all over social media trying to latch on to their success if they suddenly get hot while your original team is floundering about. Have some integrity. Speaking of social media, how about the fan that is so new to a team and clearly trying to broadcast that they are a fan that they post way too much and don't even know the official team slogans? Listen, I don't want to be too hard on Derek. He looks like he was pretty young at the time. But if you're from New York and want to be taken seriously as a Panthers fan, you can't go around botching the team's motto on social media, especially when your newfound fandom just so happens to coincide with Cam Newton's prime. Talk about sticking out like a sore thumb, golly. You might as well have shown up to the game with a massive sign that reads, "Hey, I'm new here." Now, I don't know Derek personally, but I feel like it's pretty safe to assume that his allegiance to the Panthers has probably dwindled a bit in recent years. Let's just say I'd be comfortable placing a sizable wager on that. And speaking of wagers, here's another obvious sign that someone is not a true fan. They are willing to bet against their favorite team. Even if your team is the bottom dweller of all bottom dwellers, you know, the Jaguars, the Jets, an organization like that, you simply cannot go around betting against them, even if you know in your heart of hearts that it is a sure thing. That is such bad juju for your team, for you, just for everyone. And it's an obvious sign that you are a bandwagoner, especially if you do it at a game that you go to. Everyone knows that the move when you go to watch your favorite team is to get a little action on them to win, or don't bet at all. You can't go to a stadium with a cursed bet slip like that. Look, a true fan just never would. Last, but certainly not least, we have a classic trope. You root for the perennial Super Bowl favorite, or the team with the best quarterback in the league, even though you are not from the region that the team plays in. Nowadays, I'm looking at any Chiefs fan that don't live in Kansas City, or at the bare minimum, the greater Missouri, Kansas area. During the 2010s, it was people latching on to Belichick and Brady's coattails, claiming to be Patriots. And before that, the Cowboys. This has been a reoccurring theme throughout NFL history, and it is a surefire way to identify a fake fan. So, next time you're at a game or a bar, watching your favorite team square off with the Chiefs, and amid your desperation for a win, there's maybe a mouthy fan that you suspect is a bandwagoner ticking you off, ask them to see their driver's license. And I assure you, the truth will quickly be revealed. But what do you think is the best way to spot a bandwagon fan? Was there anything that we missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. Hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.